Imagine a world turned upside down. Sirens wail in the distance, a constant mournful cry that has become the soundtrack to your life. Smoke chokes the air, painting the sky in shades of grey and orange. This was the scene, a landscape of chaos and fear. In the very heart of this turmoil stood a single medical aid tent, a fragile beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. And inside that tent was a woman named Elara. Elara wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a hardened survivalist. She was a medic, a healer. Her hands, usually steady and precise, now trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion. For 3 days and 3 nights, she had worked without rest, stitching wounds, setting bones, and offering what little comfort she could to the endless stream of injured people who stumbled through the tent flaps. Her supplies were dwindling, her energy was almost gone. But her resolve was iron. Outside, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The perimeter, a makeshift line of defense hastily thrown together by local volunteers, was under immense pressure. The crackle of radios filled the air with frantic, desperate voices. Sector Gamma is overrun. Fall back, fall back. The shouts of men and the terrifying sounds of the unseen enemy grew closer with each passing minute. The ground shook with distant explosions that felt less distant every time. Panic was a virus, and it was spreading fast. People around her were starting to flee. A young man, his arm in a sling she had just tied, urged her, "You have to go. They're breaking through. The whole line is collapsing." He looked at her with wide, terrified eyes, but Elara just gave him a sad, determined smile. "And where would these people go?" she asked, gesturing to the dozen or so critically injured patients lying on cots. They were too weak to move, their only hope lying within the thin canvas walls of her tent. Leaving them was not an option. It was a thought her mind simply refused to form. The sounds of battle were no longer in the distance. They were at the doorstep. The rhythmic thud of heavy footsteps, the splintering of wood, the sharp, terrifying cracks of whatever weapons the enemy wielded, it was all just outside. The tent flap whipped open, and it wasn't a patient this time. It was a defender, his face grimed with soot, his eyes hollow. "It's over," he breathed, his voice raspy. "We can't hold them. Get out of here while you still can. We'll buy you a few seconds." He didn't wait for a reply. He turned and vanished back into the chaos, his footsteps quickly swallowed by the rising din. This was it, the moment of truth. Every instinct screamed at Elara to run, to save herself. But then she looked at the faces of her patients. A little girl with a feverish brow, an old man whose breath came in ragged gasps, a young woman who had just given birth in the midst of this nightmare. Their eyes were all fixed on her, filled with a mixture of fear and a fragile, desperate trust. They saw her not just as a medic, but as their last line of defense against the encroaching horror. In that moment, something inside Elara solidified. Her fear was still there, a cold knot in her stomach, but it was overshadowed by a powerful, unshakable sense of duty. She picked up a fresh roll of bandages, her hands suddenly steady again. She walked over to the little girl and gently placed a cool, damp cloth on her forehead. "It's going to be all right," she whispered, her voice calm and soothing, a stark contrast to the pandemonium outside. "Just rest now." As the perimeter collapsed and the world outside her tent fell apart, Elara held her ground. She was just one person, with no weapon to her name, but in that moment she was the strongest fortress of them all. A lone guardian holding back the tide of despair with nothing but courage and compassion. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of unsung heroes.